Hello guys and welcome to another React with BlueJay, the dumbest Russian voyage nobody talks about. We watched one of his videos last time I recorded. It was the funniest freaking thing ever. I saw this one's pretty short, so I figured, well, you know, let's just go into this one. I probably have enough time to watch this before I eat dinner, so let's see what the dumbest Russian voyage that nobody talks about.
There are an abundance of iconic combinations out there, like spaghetti and meatballs, a sorority girl in a white Jeep, or depression and alcoholism. But like US presidents and convertibles, not everything can be a match made in heaven. And as much as Mother Russia would love to dominate the high seas, nearly landlocked nations and stellar navies don't exactly go hand in hand. But for all the Russian Navy's dismal, underwhelming, pathetic lack of glory in the early 20th.
If Russia could have just had its whole navy in one spot, it probably would have a better naval history.
Century. It's always important.
It's impressive that America has such a good naval history when it has to split it in two halves. Heck, imagine if the Panama didn't exist. It would be crazy.
And to look on the bright side. Like how it gives me good YouTube content. So on today's episode, I'm going to learn you all about the misadventures of the Russian Baltic Fleet.
Truth.
It's the turn of the 20th century, and what better way to kick off a new era than expansion? Russia is cold, which is great for things like stopping Nazis and badass TikToks, but not ideal for ports.
No.
Having your port turn to ice for things like stopping Nazis and badass TikToks, but not ideal.
What am I looking at? There are so many carriers. How? This would be one heck of a Pearl Harbor.
Deal for ports. Having your port turn to ice every winter is what those of us more versed in nautical terms would call not very cash money. The Russian Empire notices China has a pretty nifty port with, get this, warm water. However, there's this pesky little thing called a border in the way. But that's okay. China isn't European. It's not a real country. So Russia takes control and gets the Qing to lease in the port. Japan doesn't like what they see, so they meet with Russia and are all like, hey, vodka boy, invading China is our thing. But Russia won't share, leaving diplomacy dead in the water. But that's okay. The new DLC just dropped and everyone's just itching to try out their new toys. So the Japanese attack Port Arthur, kicking off the Russo-Japanese War. Fast forward a few battles and the Russians are losing pretty badly. So the Tsar authorizes quite the preposterous proposal of sending the Russian Baltic Fleet to reinforce the East. And you may be wondering, but BlueJay, what's so preposterous about sending reinforcements? Well, kiddo, the Baltic part of Russian Baltic Fleet means it operates in, get this, the Baltic. And as we learned earlier, boats don't like ice, so you can't go this way to Port Arthur, meaning the Tsar authorized a plan for an 18,000-mile journey around the world, which is 29,000 kilometers, or 1,140,480,000 gumballs. The voyage...
Oh my god, he did it again. No, he really does this. He really does this. He really looks at the length of a gumball. He really... Oh my god, I can't believe he really does this. Wow. He has to be... It has to be made up, right? It has to be made up. BlueJay, did you really measure a gumball and then you gotta just, it's gotta be a random number, right? I don't know. I want to believe that it's real. I do.
Which was also a logistical nightmare,
I do.
as the Russians didn't have any holdings in Africa or South Asia to refuel along the way. Add that to the fact that the fleet spent months at a time frozen in port, so the crew of mostly uneducated peasants couldn't tell you the difference between a bowline knot and a porcelain pot. This group of inexperienced conscripts was put under the command of Admiral Rozhetsvensky, a man so prone to anger that his staff made sure to keep a large supply of binoculars at the ready due to how often he would throw them overboard. But hey, fuck it, what better way to learn than a trial by fire, right? So
I watched something else recently where it was like, oh yeah, it was that Marine video from Fat Electrician where it's like, you got a bunch of rookie, like, American troops that have never seen combat, but they had that daily guy leading them. So watch as they pull off the craziest shit you've ever seen. Leadership really does make a big difference. What leadership did this angry guy impart?
Set sail on their epic quest to turn the tide of the war and bring glory to the motherland. And immediately, the flagship runs aground and a cruiser loses his anchor. While they waited for the flagship to refloat, a destroyer forgot friendly fire was on and rammed into a battleship, prompting it to return for repairs. Don't worry, men, surely this can't be foreshadowing. As the fleet pushed on.
Really? This really happened? That really occurred. Like, one thing is a fluke, but that wasn't just one thing. That was a lot of things, man. How did all of that happen and you haven't even left yet?
A growing hysteria spread amongst the crew. They were afraid that at any second they'd be ambushed by Japanese torpedo boats. By Denmark. This is where the war is, if you forgot.
Torpedo boats don't go very far away from the coast.
But the crewmen didn't have time to worry about things as frivolous as logic, so when two fishermen approached the fleet to deliver a message, they opened fire. The two fishermen survived the false alarm without a scratch thanks to the horrible standards of the Russian gunnery. As for their message, they informed Rear Admiral Rozhetsvensky that he had been promoted to Vice Admiral. I earned this. This wouldn't be the only false alarm.
There's no way this is real. Is this real? Is this all real? This is so bad. This is so bad. This is China checking their nuclear stockpile to find that all the fuel for it or whatever had been siphoned out and sold as part of corruption levels of bad.
As later another ship signaled that she was under attack by 8 Japanese torpedo boats, only to find out that there were 0 Japanese torpedo boats. There was just nothing there. Having survived the Baltic, our heroes made their way towards Britain, where they encountered a small group of fishing trawlers at Dogger Bank. But surely by now our skittish sailors have learned their lesson. Ninjas! Streliates bullshit! Chaos ensued as the Russians laid down hellfire upon the unsuspecting fishermen. The Russians are going bonkers. Some run around the deck aimlessly waving cutlasses to repel imaginary boarding parties, while others just cuddle up on the deck with life jackets.
Obviously that part is just flavor. Right, but Jesus, are they really just opening fire on random fishing boats and they're still in Europe? Are they really doing this? This really is the dumbest Russian voyage ever. And yeah, nobody talks about this. Except these titles are completely accurate. Because I just watched recently this video by this chill guy or whatever, and it said the things everybody does, society does, and it was all a bunch of made up bullshit. But this is like exact. This guy's titles are so exact.
Their demise. Keep it up, men. These Japanese have horrendous aim, Igor. We haven't even taken a hit. But hey, at least this time we made sure they weren't fishermen first. We're shooting at fishermen, aren't we? Definitely a possibility, sir. Well, at least we didn't fire on our own ships, killing a sailor and Russian Orthodox priest. The British trawler fleet.
What? Is there a single naval expedition in the entire world that is worse than this one? Is there any naval expedition in all of history that has gone worse than this one? I guess the Romans losing like a 200+ ship fleet to a storm is probably worse, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Fleet were sitting ducks as their nets in the water prevented a hasty escape, and the Russians fired at them for 20 minutes before realizing their mistake. While this sounds like the setup for a massacre,
did they miss for 20 minutes straight? Did they miss static targets for 20 minutes straight?
You forget our heroes are about as effective as a guy holding a fish on Tinder, sinking only 1 trawler and damaging 2 of their own ships. The battleship Oriole really captured the spirit of a TikTok pickup
1 trawler and 2 of their own ships. Did you say sink?
Trawler and damaging 2 of their own ships. About as effective
sinking
as
1 trawler, damaging 2 of their own ships.
Guy holding a fish on Tinder, sinking only 1 trawler and damaging 2 of their own ships. The battleship Oriole really captured the spirit of a TikTok pickup artist, reportedly shooting 500 shots without scoring a single hit. 2 fishermen and 2 Russians died in the mayhem.
Yes, they really shot a priest.
So, at least the survivors can brag at the local pub that they tied with the Russian Navy. This event became known as the Dogger Bank incident and nearly ignited a war between Russia and Britain. The Brits just
it should have
settled for revoking their access to the Suez Canal, forcing the Russians to make a slight tweak in their course. The slow, coal-powered fleet made its way towards Africa.
Why are they? Do they have ammo for when they get there? Do they still have enough ammo?
Attacking more civilians and cutting underwater telegraph cables along the way. They met up with some German supply ships to
Alright, that's a meme. Obviously.
Refuel due to the aforementioned lack of African holdings to make port. What nice friends, those Germans. I'm sure the relationship will last. Africa's pretty big, almost as big as my self-loathing, so they took on double loads of coal and kept giant piles of the stuff just sitting on deck. Definitely the kind of thing to land you an EPA audit. But it's not like any sailors were gonna die from black lung, except for the ones who did. Morale is low, so the Russian crew decides to lift their spirits by treating themselves to the exotic pets of Madagascar. Alright men, you all can— hey Igor, stop sniffing glue for a sec buddy. You all can go to shore and pick out one thing to bring back with you. Nothing too crazy like snakes or crocodiles. What did I say? Sir, I can explain. Watch it throw back the shot at Tito's. The ship became a floating zoo as the crew brought on a bunch of animals to roam the deck freely, including a crocodile
How? This is so stupid. This may not be as bad as Romans losing their entire navy to a storm, but this is really stupid.
Crocodile and a venomous snake, which apparently took a liking for vodka. Panic followed shortly when the
You're saying you didn't just make that part up as flavor? That was real? They got a venomous snake and fed it vodka repeatedly, and it liked it?
snake wrapped itself around guns and bit a commanding officer. One sailor gifted the admiral a parrot, which soon took after his rather extensive vocabulary of Russian curses. The flagship soon became overrun with chameleons who would frequently go missing due to their ability to seamlessly camouflage. Hey Igor, have you seen Comrade Camo?
This guy has, this is great. This guy's great. His videos are hysterical. This is so funny. How have I not found this before? This is the funniest fucking shit. Whose fault is it? Who did it? Which one of you stopped me from finding him till right now? You just wanted to see me react, so you didn't let me find him until right now. I know your games.
I can't find the little guy anywhere. No, I don't think so. Have you seen him private? Yeah, I don't think he's seen him either. But a good zoo isn't complete without an underwater exhibit. And luckily for them, the cooling plant on their refrigeration ship broke down, forcing them to dump all their meat into the ocean and giving them a nice following of sharks. At one
There's a refrigeration ship?
point, the fleet was holding one of many funerals for a sailor who died of illness. During the ceremony, the Kamchatka fired a gun salute.
And hit a friendly ship.
Excellent work, gentlemen. Hey, say, you boys did make sure to load blanks, right? Yes, sir. Yeah. Igor, you're looking
Oh god.
on a pail there, buddy. After some more shenanigans, like foiling a mutiny and receiving a shipment of fur boots and coats instead of ammo, Admiral Rozhetsvensky realized that they were approaching
Wow. Oh my god. Just, oh my god, it just keeps getting worse.
Japan.
Or maybe, I don't know if it keeps getting worse, but it keeps on going. What did he just say?
Coats instead of ammo. Admiral Rozhetsvensky realized that they were approaching
Wait.
Igor, you're looking kinda pale there, buddy. After some more shenanigans, like foiling a mutiny and receiving a shipment of fur boots and coats instead of ammo, Admiral
They asked for ammo and they got winter clothing while they're sailing around Africa.
Rozhetsvensky realized that they were approaching Japan.
Finally!
Oh shit, that's right, I didn't train them. So he decided to run some gunnery practice on a stationary target. Miraculously, our group of misfits managed to score a single hit on the ship towing the target. But hey, potato potato. At long last,
This is so bad. I'm just in utter disbelief.
the Baltic fleet closes in on Japan, approaching the Tsushima Strait during the night. The fleet extinguishes their lights to maintain stealth, all except for the Orel, which, as a hospital ship, kept them burning in accordance with the rules of war. The Orel comes upon a Japanese ship in the dark. And finally, after an extensive list of false alarms attacking fishermen and merchants alike across half of the high seas, they come across an actual Japanese vessel and determine it to be Russian. So they use their lights to communicate with it. The Battle of Tsushima.
This is so bad. It just keeps getting worse. How? How does it keep getting worse?
Ensues. While our gallant sailors hold their own against the Japan, the Baltic fleet was decimated. 4,000 Russians die with an additional.
Look at the difference. Oh my god. You sailed across the entire world, and this is what wow.
Additional 7,300 taken prisoner, compared to roughly 100 Japanese deaths. This effectively ended the war, marking the first time in history that an Eastern power defeated a European one. Way to go, buddy. Let's add that one to the scoreboard. Oh dear. So, in conclusion, the Russian Baltic Fleet's odyssey around the world is a tale full of shenanigans and blunders, with our troublemaking peasant crew racking up quite the body count of innocent civilians and friendlies before seeing an actual enemy. And yes, while they may have attacked ships from practically every global power, disabled cities' communication grids, killed fellow sailors with gross—
I'm sorry. Was this telegram part actually real? I thought he was just memeing. right? Tell me it's just a meme. Telegrams don't work like that. Right? I feel gaslit. What's happening?
Negligence of safety practices nearly ignited a major European war, and were about as accurate as Helen Keller playing laser tag.
You know, this is the best part. The British didn't even need to get revenge. They didn't even need to get revenge. They just had to let them keep going. And not only did they shoot their own men, but they all just died. They all just got captured, died, and lost their war against Japan. The worst you could do to them was let them go. That is incredible. Just fucking wow.
They also taught a snake to drink vodka. 9 out of 10 stars.
9 out of 10 SARS. Ah. All right, man. That shit was so fun. I love this channel. I love these videos. These are like amazing, dude. If you have any suggestions you want to see for reacts, leave those in the comments below. Unless it's a link, leave that in the Discord in the description below. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.